I'm not sure if I ever watched one of these Jubilee videos on stream before. I think I watched the incel one, where it's like the Bumblebee incel guy. But I've never watched one of these like big group doing the thing on Jubilee videos before. And I don't really know if there's going to be a lot to argue against or about in this video, but it's still going to be a good watch anyway. And we'll have plenty to say about it, I'm sure. It's Do All Cops Think the Same? Spectrum. Let's watch. This video contains discussion about violence and illegal blah, blah.
Has happened? It's me. It's my family, not you. You've lost your ability to use that use of force ramp, and we're going straight to deadly force.
Policing has been a significant topic.
Holy shit.
Not you. You've lost your ability.
That guy has the cop mustache. Jesus. How much you want to bet that this guy is going to be the most racist cop here? Actually, no, this guy. I'm calling it right now, okay? I'm going to say Jubilee loves doing this kind of shit, okay? They absolutely love to do that shit where they do like the, slow it down a bit. I should slow it down a bit. We're not gonna be able to watch this whole video. It's way too long. We'll slow it down to 1.5 speed. They love to do the thing where they're like, oh, who's the conservative? And it's like a bunch of white people and one black guy. And it's like, I wonder who the conservative's gonna be, Jubilee. And it's always like the black guy or the non-white person, because, you know, they got to throw off the expectations. I guarantee it's going to be this guy. This guy, I guarantee this will be, like, the most conservative or, like, the shittiest cop here. I guarantee it. I feel it. My nutsack is quivering. It can sense the racism.
To use that use of force ramp, and we're going straight to deadly force.
Policing has been a significant topic for ages, from Rodney King to defunding the police to Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. We are in a moment where we are examining how laws are enforced and when they are broken, how we are treated. These are topics and issues that we don't often get a chance to hear cops speak on themselves. When watching this video, please remember that these officers are speaking from their own personal beliefs and drawing from their own experiences. Seek out experts, do your own research, and have empathy.
Fuck empathy.
My name is Evan, 5 years old here in Washington, D.C. Born and raised in Washington, D.C. as well. 28.
What's up, everybody? My name is Phil. I'm in Long Beach, California. I've been a cop for 20 years and 44 years old.
Ben, I'm actually in Canada right now. Born and raised in Toronto. Been a police officer for 6 years with 2 different departments, and before that I was in the Canadian Army for 9 years.
Alright, this guy's a Canadian cop. He probably won't be that bad.
I'm Marcellus. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I've been working with Detroit Police Department for 5 years.
Holy shit, my dude. There is like 3 feet of space above your camera, okay? Just move your camera down. Unless he's jacking off underneath the thing. It's possible that he's jacking off under there. And so he just, you know, got to keep the... You know, we got a rule here on the channel, all right? The hands are always above the camera line, okay? You guys got to know I don't have my hand on my dick.
I'm 23. I'm Zach. I'm from Montana. Born in San Francisco, California. I've been a police officer for 4 years. I'm 28.
Hi, I'm Kendra.
Holy shit. Imagine being born in California and then moving to Montana, dude. Like... Usually it's you're born in what is there in Montana? I'm actually curious. What would make you move from California to Montana? Montana's one of those states that makes me forget it exists. I literally didn't remember that Montana existed until I was reminded of it, okay? Cheap houses? Yeah, I guess.
Been in law enforcement for 16 years, just medically retired, and I'm not even gonna say my age.
I feel threatened when I hear defund the police. Phil?
Disagree.
Marcellus?
Disagree.
Evan?
Strongly disagree.
Kendra?
Oh!
Someone disagree.
Ben?
Agree.
Is he gonna be the
Zach.
most progressive one?
Agree.
Fuck, was I completely
Detroit
wrong?
Public Schools is horrible. Our housing is horrible. The mental facilities awful. It could be a lot better. The money can go elsewhere. If we can help out people before they get to the point where the police need to be involved,
We'll see.
there won't need to be that much negative police interaction. Not saying all police interaction is negative.
Yes, defund the police. Because it's not about us. It's about really reallocating the funds into services and institutions.
True.
People need to be decent human beings. And it's really about making the world more equitable for other communities.
I don't know. I don't know why, but I got the vibe that he would be the most conservative one. They always bring on, like, whenever they do who's the conservative in the group or who's the most right-leaning in the group whenever it comes to a Jubilee video, it's always the black dude, okay? But there's multiple black people here, and he just kind of gave me the most conservative vibe, just kind of based on his drip, you know? Like, I don't know.
So they don't even need the police.
I don't know if I feel threatened by it. I just sort of feel like pissed off when I hear it. Yeah, because if you defund the police, there's no training. You're not gonna get the response
Oh,
times
it's
that you
going to
want.
be this
They
guy,
all started over,
the most
Since
stereotypical
2015,
cop.
we've had, since 2000, or up until now, there's been about 1,000 people a year officers have killed. And that's going off the statistics of 8 million to about 10 million interactions with people. I take it a little personal for someone that just takes such pride in not holding any bias on any race or anyone, treat everyone the same. Why does that have to come out of the police? Why did the police have to defund it? I'm just because of the media blowing up these interactions with people.
Dude, you should not have moved to Montana. Maybe if you'd stayed in California, you would have gotten a better education or whatever, and you would know that defund the police doesn't mean take money away from the police. It's terrible wording, to be fair. It means reallocate the police's funding into other departments, specifically meant to improve our justice system. The police wouldn't be losing out on money. If anything, they'd be getting more, broadly speaking. It means that the officers on the street would be less funded. Cops wouldn't have literal urban assault vehicles, and instead, we would be able to allocate funding to new departments and already existing departments to make them more effective at dealing with specific situations that your average cop is not suitable to be dealing with. Like, we need social workers and stuff like that can deal with particular issues. You do know that, like, there are people who, or like family members of people who have autism, that have to put up signs on their door or in their driveway or on their lawn saying, my insert loved one has autism. If you're a cop, please don't shoot them. Cops are not equipped to deal with situations like that. We need to reallocate funding from large police departments to departments in the police force or the broader justice system that are capable of dealing with situations like that, or in cases where someone who might be committing suicide. If someone's planning to commit suicide or is in the act of committing suicide and someone calls the cops to stop them, generally, armed police officers are not the people you want to deal with when it comes to somebody about to take their own life. Like, I want you to really think about it, okay? You've got somebody with a gun or a knife who intends to kill themselves or self-harm, and someone calls the cops because they know about it and want it to be stopped. Do you think armed police officers with guns are the people you want to go in to stop somebody or to de-escalate the situation when that person is armed and willing to hurt themselves and maybe even others? No.
I think a lot of times, the default to any kind of sociological issue in America is always the police. It's always incarceration. That's why, we're trying to look at, even look at the school to prison pipeline. You look at homelessness.
True.
You look at all these certain things where it's just like, if we invest in these institutions more.
You know what should have been the giveaway that this guy would be progressive to me? He's a DC cop. A lot of the time, people from DC, even the cops, are a lot more progressive. Unironically, DC is a very progressive place. I would say it's like up there with New York in regards to progressive places on the East Coast. For the most part, I'd say the West Coast is where we're going to find the most progressive people. But like DC is like up there with LA and San Francisco in regards to how progressive it is. It's funny. And that's also why they don't have any representation, because God knows the American government is going to allow one of the most progressive areas to have representation in federal government if it means that more progressive legislation would be passed.
And that everyone who's involved with these institutions get the adequate services, they won't need the police. They won't need to be locked up.
I mean, I think the theory is great, like refunding it into like the school systems, and they get this great education and they come out, excellent citizens. But that's just not the case with people. There's been people that grew up poor and in poverty, that grew up to be doctors or professional athletes or businessmen, and there's been people that had great families, went to a private school, and wanted to be.
Holy shit. They got the biggest piece of shit cop that looks like he's a piece of shit cop. That he's literally arguing against the idea, the like well understood sociological and understood idea of determinism. Like, for those of you guys that don't know what determinism is the idea that your environment shapes who you're going to be. He's doing the bootstraps argument, which is like blatantly anti-science, right? This is survivorship bias, although it's not even survivorship bias, because I doubt this guy is one of those people. He could have been, but I don't know if that's the case. Just because some people were able to work their way out of poverty in order to have a better life does not mean that is what you should expect from the vast majority of people in that circumstance. It's pretty, obvious fact,
A piece of shit. I mean, you just can't predict what people are going to do. You're always going to need police. There's always going to be that chaos and craziness that is just an evil that's just kind of bred into the world.
There has to be someone to tell you, you can't do that. And if you do that, there's consequences.
But I don't think the peace comes from controlling people and telling them, no, you can't do this. No, you can't go there. No, you can't act this way. No, you can't be this way. I don't think the world needs the police to tell them how to behave.
Sorry.
People know how to behave.
I can't not cover up this lady. I'm sorry.
Do they?
Killer's mad.
Of course, people aren't perfect, and people break laws. Of course, but it's just like, why is it the police that has to come and step forward? Why can't it be the community? Why can't it be that whole saying of the village raises the child?
Policing without police, I'm all down for it. The problem is we are so disbanded from each other. I live in a really large city here in Southern California, and I'll tell you, my neighbors, they're great, but neighbor a block away, don't even know his name. So how do we have that neighbor a block away be the police of my family, which my values are different, your values are different. It's just, you need that level of law enforcement to have that sanctity of law and order. I love the idea, Evan. It's just not reality anymore. We're too big of a world.
I have the right to use my gun if I feel I am in danger.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
Phil?
I agree, kind of.
Marcellus?
I agree.
Evan?
Strongly disagree.
Kendra?
Oh!
Agree.
Ben?
Agree.
Zach?
Agree.
If somebody pulls a gun out on me, which has happened, it's me, it's my family, not you. You've lost your ability to use that use of force ramp, and we're going straight to deadly force, and there's no excuse.
So this is like... So something that you have to keep in mind is that until we have literal RoboCops that are just disposable robots that, there's no need to make this argument, cops are, believe it or not, people and are subject to human emotions. And I would expect anybody, regardless of the amount of training they receive, to react in a violent way if they are if their life is genuinely threatened. Is that a good thing? Not necessarily. The question is very loaded as well. But I don't necessarily think it's overly unreasonable for a cop to respond with lethal force if someone pulls a gun on them and points it at them. Now, should they do everything in their power to de-escalate the situation non-violently? And should they have to use a firearm? Should they try, if they can, to make it non-lethal? Sure. But as someone who's shot guns and knows a lot about guns, something you have to realize is when you're using a firearm, a lot of people say, why not, if a criminal pulls out a gun and aims it at you, why doesn't the cop just shoot him in the leg or shoot him in the arm or shoot him somewhere that is not lethal? The problem is that, especially in the heat of the moment, when someone else is aiming a gun at you and could pull the trigger at you, you're not going to aim for the leg or the arm, which is, by the way, an extremely hard target to hit, and not even the head even, because that's the same problem. You're taught to shoot for center mass, the largest amount where you can shoot, right? So that's going to be this area, from the waist up to the shoulders. The largest area that you can hit. That's what you're going to aim for. And unfortunately, this general area is where all the important stuff is, besides, here, obviously, right? That's why you generally don't see a lot of police shootings where headshots occur. Headshots are actually pretty fucking rare when it comes to any type of gunfight. You guys know that, right? You would think they would be more common than they actually are. But if you look it up, headshots are actually really, really rare. When you're taught to shoot a gun, especially for the sake of self-defense, like police officers are, they teach you to shoot for center mass, for the chest. The stomach is a reasonable place to shoot as well. That would be considered an area that you would be aiming for if you can hit it, because that's the best place to aim for. Life isn't a video game. But yeah, I have to say, I kind of agree with this slightly. You probably do have the right to use a gun if you feel your life is in danger, but at the same time, you have to consider the situation as well. I understand that, cops are people. They're going to react in certain ways. This is why I defended is a strong word, but had a bit of a different take compared to most people when it came to the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, where fuck Kyle Rittenhouse. He's a piece of shit. He went there with a gun, out there specifically with the interest of violence occurring. That's why he brought the gun with him. I do not believe he just brought it there for personal protection. He went out a pretty, he drove an hour to get to the place that he went to. He went there, like, hoping someone would provoke him. But when it came to the point where he was on the ground being chased by, like, 12 people, one of them with, like, a skateboard trying to hit him in the face, I think he was maybe not morally justified, but logically justified in shooting those people at that point. Maybe not the first guy, because we don't know all the details of what that guy's deal was. That was at him with, like, the bottle in the plastic bag. But, like, when he was getting chased down by all those people, like, fucking hell, dude. If there's a group of people coming at me and one of them has a fucking skateboard, I don't know if you've ever been hit in the side of the head with a skateboard, but, whew. The guy who bailed him was a Nazi and associated with the Ukrainian Azov battalion. I'm not surprised. Kyle Rittenhouse is totally a piece of shit. I mean, we've seen, like, the clip of him, like, oh, God. I heard Destiny say that people who bring this up are doing the he was no angel defense, but that's not what this is. I'm literally just arguing that Kyle Rittenhouse, totally a piece of shit. We saw the clip of him, like, hitting that girl on the street that one time. He was definitely a piece of shit. Based on, like, some of his previous online behavior, he was probably pretty right-leaning. However, in that scenario, when we're talking about how the human psychology evaluates a life-or-death situation, or what it perceives a life-or-death situation in a particular case, then, yeah, I think it's reasonable to feel like you should pull out your gun and use lethal force if you feel you need to.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody's really debating whether you should meet a gun with a gun or a knife with a gun. But how many times have we heard the defense that I was in?
Xander Hall Vosh talked about this yesterday, and he said that he should have dropped the gun. I disagree with Vosh on that. I'm going to be honest. I disagree with Vosh on that. If you're in a situation where there are a group of people running at you and one of them has a fucking skateboard, no impulse going on with flight or flight in your body would make it seem like it is a logical, like it would be a good idea to drop your weapon. Like, at that point, if I'm being honest, I've watched the videos of the protest and what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse multiple times. They would have Kyle Rittenhouse was in for a fucking beating from that crowd of people, okay? Those people thought that that Kyle Rittenhouse had just killed someone in cold blood. Kyle was in for a hard beating, dude, and he knew it. They were gonna beat the shit out of him regardless of whether or not he put down the gun, okay? And he knew it, all right? I don't think it would have been like a logically good decision from his perspective to drop the gun. He was gonna get a beating either way, okay? It was dark too, and it was like a heat of the moment thing as well. They might not have even realized that he'd put down the gun anyway. He deserved it. We're not making an argument about whether or not he deserved it. Chat, listen to me. I love you all so much. I need you all to listen to my voice right now. We are not making an argument about whether or not he deserved it. We're talking about, from Kyle Rittenhouse's perspective, psychologically speaking, whether or not it was logically a good idea for him to put down his gun. It doesn't matter what terrible shit he was doing and what a little snot-nosed brat he is. But if you're there on the ground and a crowd of people who think you just murdered somebody is running at you and you've got a gun in your hand, it is probably not the best idea for you to drop your weapon when that crowd is running at you. Just got here. Is Xander defending Kyle Rittenhouse? No. All right, let's continue the video. But he did murder somebody? Arguably, yes.
Life. And that's a very, very subjective statement. And we've seen people use their guns whenever they were in fear for their lives where no weapon was being used. So let's look at it like that sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it's a very broad question. There's so many scenarios you could do, like with that. Like what you're saying, like I was in fear of my safety. I'm thinking more like a guy that's kind of not listening to orders and fumbling around in his car and he has maybe like a minor warrant and the guy just shoots him. Run back to your car or something, like disengage. But yeah, I see where you're coming from in that sense.
Using your firearm doesn't...
Dude, even the chuddy cop is like... You should try to disengage if you feel like your life is not in immediate danger. Even the chuddy cop is like, yeah.
Necessarily mean firing it. Well, I was chasing a guy with a gun, very visibly in his hand, chasing him around this building, and I finally see him throw the gun over his shoulder and drop it. And on my body camera, you can hear me say, "Thank God." And I reholster, and I go back to my taser as I'm chasing him. Sometimes it just comes down to I may need it.
Do you feel like you guys could do your jobs without a gun.
I ain't going to certain calls without a gun.
No.
Give me a hose, I'll be a fireman, but I ain't going to.
Yeah, if I'm a cop, I'm gonna need some mine. That's just what it is because we get called everything.
Of course not. I need my gun for this job. I wouldn't do it without it because everyone has guns.
In Canada, we have what we call special constables.
That is true. Like, the police should have guns. Like, if we're being completely honest here, especially in America, guns are extremely easy to come by. And as much as I don't like cops, if we're going to have law enforcement, they're going to need to have guns. All right? Armed criminal situations happen, and the people that are meant to deal with those situations should probably have weapons to fight back. Yeah, either everyone has one or no one has one. That's the problem with guns in America, at least in our current state.
Constables and special constables are essentially sworn peace officers, but they're unarmed, and they do everything from court security to policing some of our community housing here in Toronto. But they wind up calling us who are armed because they can't deal with those certain situations, as Phil or myself was talking about.
I have broken the law.
Oh.
Phil?
Agree.
Marcellus?
Oh.
Agree.
Evan?
Strongly agree.
Kendra?
Agree.
Ben?
Agree.
Zach?
Agree.
Bro, I'd be so scared to answer that question. I'd be like, no comment. You know? Like, fuck. I mean, everyone's broken the law at some point. Like, literally, I don't think anybody in America or the world has never broken a law. I'm like, and there are some dumb laws too. Like, there are some like ones that you might not, like, everyone's probably jaywalked. Everyone's probably ran a stop sign or a red light. Everyone's probably pirated movies or something, or a TV show or something. Those are laws that are broken.
Boys at high school, we used to go jump on a moving train. I remember one time we got caught by the railroad police, and they were feds. I was like, ooh.
Everyone
so I know
sped, yeah.
arrested. You just get a little stern on them too.
I was 18, and me and my buddies were out. Thought it'd be fun to smash the mailboxes, so we did, and got caught.
When I was 19 years old, I was arrested for possession of marijuana, just wrong time, wrong place, in an area that I should have been in. I broke the law, so I got arrested for it. It's definitely what has given me my empathy towards individuals that we do arrest. I know how being arrested and how that charge sticks with you for your whole entire life. Instead of taking most people 6-5 months to get on the force, it took me almost a year and a half to have to appeal this, appeal that. And it just takes a long time to prove that you aren't a bad individual just because you were arrested.
I have feared for my life on the job.
It's probably going to be everybody.
Strongly agree.
Marcellus?
Agree.
Evan?
Agree.
Kendra?
Strongly agree.
Ben?
Strongly agree.
Zach?
Strongly agree.
Yeah, that's
That's where I
everybody.
work. This happened last year in the summertime.
I have no contention with that. I would not be surprised if every single cop at some point has reasonably felt like their life is in danger at some point, depending on how long they've been. Like, if it's their first day, maybe not. But like, if they're like, if they've been doing it for more than a couple months, maybe a year, then yeah, I would say it's reasonable for them to think that they've felt like their life is in danger, possibly many times while they were on the job.
Big case here in Canada, actually in the United States, actually worldwide. We get the call, our guns are out, and there's no answer at the door. So we start clearing the basement, and we don't know if he's got a gun or a knife. All we know is that there's some tenants. So we're going down. It was me, my sergeant, and my partner. We're going down the stairs, and honest to God, like I was so terrified. Like I didn't know if the guy was going to come out around the corner with a knife.
All right, we're skipping to the next question, okay? I don't want to hear all these people's stories about times where they felt like they were in danger. We want to hear the questions and their initial answers.
George Floyd's death was justified.
Whoa, there we go. That's the spicy shit. Here we go.
Phil?
Strongly disagree.
Marcellus?
Strongly disagree.
Evan?
Strongly disagree.
Kendra?
Strongly disagree.
Ben?
Strongly disagree.
Come on,
Zach.
Zach.
Strongly disagree.
Okay.
You don't put your knee on nobody's neck, especially in a man that's
Wait.
a guy that's in cuffs.
Wait.
At one point, they had George Floyd.
Hold on. Wait. Poll audience prediction. Disagree. Who are the 11% of people? Wait, yeah, Zach Redemption Arc? Hold on. Who are the 11% of people on Instagram that said that his death was justified? Damn, they've been watching too much Candace Owens.
You don't put your knee on nobody's neck, especially in a man that's a guy that's in cuffs. At one point, they had George Floyd in the back of the car. I don't know why they just didn't shut the door. But they pulled him back out, and then that's when everything took a turn for the worse.
People say, I need to see the details, the evidence that, nah, he didn't have to die. There are many other options.
I have yet to meet any officer that would even remotely agree that that should have happened. I have yet to meet one.
Two were like field training by the other two guys. I don't care if you're a rook or whatever. Say, hey, FDO, whatever. You have his neck up. And if that was me, I'm a Ravens fan.
There's no excuse for the police to kill somebody who is unarmed. There's no excuse whatsoever. You can theoretically kill somebody without a weapon, of which George Floyd had none, but like these were multiple cops. Like there's no scenario in which George Floyd should have been killed by the police. There's no justification. There's no There's no fight or flight response or defense you can do for the cops. We're like, okay, the cops shouldn't have done it, but maybe they felt like their lives were in danger. There was no even psychological explanation for why those cops should have felt like their life was so much in danger that they would have used lethal force against George Floyd. There's no scenario.
Yeah, I would have Ray Lewis tackled him on the ground. And after you see that, of course, every cop everywhere just, I don't know about you guys, get that pin in your stomach like, it's going to reflect on all of us, all 800,000, 900,000 police officers.
I know in Canada recently, the whole topic of body cameras has just reappeared. Sorry, forgive my ignorance.
Oh, the poll is predicting how the people on the spectrum would react. Okay, so the poll is predicting how they would react to it. That doesn't make sense. Wait, what? Is the poll supposed to judge how everyone is going to react? Because it only came up once, didn't it? Like, is it? You would think that the poll would be for every individual person, right? Doesn't really. Okay, interesting.
You guys wear body cameras. In Canada, that's not a thing, right? There are certain departments that don't even have in-car camera. Now because of George Floyd, now the whole shift has reignited that
like an
discussion
average
about body cameras. And I've heard people who have had 25 years on and say, oh, they're putting this body camera on me. Now I gotta watch my say. Like, no.
All right, what's the next question? Hit me up.
Now, and so man, let's go offline and figure it out. I'm pumped.
I understand why people say all cops are bastards. Phil?
Strongly disagree.
Marcellus?
Disagree.
Evan?
Strongly agree.
Oh, my man.
Agree.
Ben?
Would agree.
Zach?
Somewhat agree.
Cops can
Oh,
be jerks.
yeah. No. Okay. Here, I'll explain this right now. Okay. So the problem is, most people at some point in their life have had a run-in with the police, and usually those run-ins aren't particularly pleasant. They really aren't. I should also point out that all cops are bastards doesn't literally mean that all cops are bastards in the sense that every single individual police officer is a piece of shit. The argument is that every single police officer, by nature of being a police officer, contributes to and is part of a system that engages in the shit that is allowed. Like every cop, by merit of being a cop and not having stepped down, is complicit in what happened to George Floyd, in what happened to Breonna Taylor, in what happened to all these innocent people that have been victimized by the police, all these people who go through the school-to-prison pipeline, all of the people who are incarcerated, who have been completely forsaken by the system and are now in a position where their lives are ruined. If you go to prison, then realistically, your life is basically done. Like, most jobs aren't going to hire you, at least in America. Obviously, in countries like Finland, it's very different. But, like, at least in America, your life is, realistically speaking, pretty much over if you do time. That's on your record. A lot of places aren't going to hire you. In prison, this is like a big issue. In a lot of prisons, you're essentially forced, just to survive, to join some kind of group. And if you're white, especially if you're white, you might have to get in with the fucking neo-Nazis. You have to break the law a lot of the time to make it in prison in some way. This can involve contraband. This can involve, engaging in violence. It's really bad. A lot of people end up getting hooked on drugs if they weren't already when they're in prison. That on its own could be life-ruining. Hey, listen, when you're a white dude, when you're like a skinny white dude who wants to survive prison and the only group that'll accept you are the fucking Aryan Brotherhood or whatever, and they make you get a swastika tattoo on your neck, that's going to be pretty hard. That's going to be pretty hard for you to get a job when you get out of prison, okay? But even beyond that, like just the general way that the prison system works is not conducive with that of people improving themselves and being rehabilitated so that they can be reintroduced to society and then go on to have a better life than they had before they went in. A better life than they had that led them to committing crime than what led them to committing a crime and ending up in prison.
Plain and simple. I mean, cops can be assholes. Sometimes it's their nature, it's their character. Sometimes it can just be a tough day. Officers go from call to call, and sometimes you can just came from a call where you had to tell someone that their loved one died, or you responded to an overdose, or God forbid.
All right. This is long enough. Let's hear the last question.
Actually, I mean, obviously sometimes shit's gonna go down, but
I have felt ashamed to be a cop.
Ooh.
Phil?
Strongly disagree.
Marcellus?
Disagree.
Evan?
Agree.
Kendra,
Nice.
Strongly disagree.
Ben,
I'm gonna agree.
Zach.
Strongly disagree.
I think
I don't go wearing,
Ben said somewhat agree, and they put him on agree.
I'm a cop T-shirt anywhere. I don't have an office with all my accolades behind me, but I am truly thankful for everything this job has brought me, both mentally and physically.
I disagree.
So, feeling ashamed of like being part of a group, even if you were glad or wouldn't have it any other way that you're part of that group, doesn't necessarily mean that like you can be ashamed of being something that you think is completely okay to be, right? Sometimes I'll see other leftists engage in like particular behavior, and I'll feel ashamed to be a leftist, but it doesn't make me want to stop being a leftist or think that being a leftist is the wrong thing to do. When I go on Twitter and I see other leftists, like dumb fuck leftists, saying things like force the vote on Medicare for all, which is completely a fucking dumb idea. That doesn't make, I may be ashamed of being a leftist when I see that because it's secondhand embarrassment. I'm like, wow, you're making all leftists look like they have no idea how the fuck politics works, especially in America, you know? Yeah, like if I see a Sean tweet, that makes me ashamed to be a leftist, right? Basically every Sean tweet. That's a good example because Sean's a dumb fuck on Twitter. Every time I see another leftist being an idiot and making other leftists look bad, I feel ashamed to be a leftist for a minute. Doesn't mean that it makes me not want to be a leftist anymore or think that being a leftist is the wrong thing. It's in-group embarrassment, in-group cringe. And I feel like that's fine for cops to feel as well. Like, I would feel sketched out by any cop who maybe didn't feel a little bit of ashamed of being a cop and being part of the system that allowed the guy who killed Breonna Taylor to then get off nearly scot-free. Or being part of the system that allowed George Floyd's death to occur. And basically the only reason why, I'm pretty sure, what was his name? The guy who killed George Floyd, I'm pretty sure the only reason why he got like a harsher punishment than he would have otherwise was just because of public pressure. Like, if we're being honest here, Derek Chauvin, he literally has chauvinistic in his name, or the root part of chauvinistic. If there wasn't the massive public backlash around George Floyd's death that there was, Derek Chauvin would have gotten off pretty fucking easy. I really do think so. If there weren't literal riots all over the country on the massive scale that they were, Derek Chauvin wouldn't have gotten as bad of a punishment as he did.
Agree. I've never been ashamed. Thing is about me, I never really wanted to be a cop. I wanted to make video games, but college wasn't it for me. Detroit, you need a high school diploma and license, and I had all that, and I really need some money.
Oh God, he's a gamer.
Met some great people.
Oh God, he's a gamer. Oh God.
Family. And
listen, if a gamer can't succeed in being a gamer, they become a cop. That's how it always turns out. The two worst people in the world, cops and gamers.
I've been working 5 years now, and the job is wonderful.
Actually, I'm going to change my answer
The gamer to cop pipeline.
to disagree. There was a point in my career, this is due to PTSD, where I kind of looked myself in the mirror and basically asked myself what I was doing, but got through that, and I can say that I actually love this job.
I love this job. It was a great profession, very, very honorable profession. But it wasn't until I had that looking into the mirror situation where I actually started going to grad school, started doing my own research, learned about the history of policing and the effects that it's caused different disenfranchised groups, that you really start to wake up and really understand where policing has come from. I'm hopeful that we're going in the right direction. I'm faithful that we're going to turn this thing around and we're going to make this profession an honorable profession. But just really acknowledging just the harm that policing has caused certain communities. It's heartbreaking.
All right. I think we've seen enough. Evan, if you're listening to this, buddy, when the leftist revolution happens, I will make sure that you don't end up against the wall, okay? I'll make sure of it, okay? You're a chill dude. I'll do everything I can, everything in my power to make sure you don't end up against the wall. Listen, okay? The discussion around police, particularly in America, is very complicated because, believe it or not, I am a leftist. We do need cops or some kind of law enforcement. We can't have a society in which anybody can do anything. Like, we can't have a society in which murderers and rapists and whatnot are allowed to roam free without any type of repercussions. There are certain things, there are certain crimes that probably, that like neighborhood or militia style policing that like an anarchist would push for, probably can't deal with. things like widespread terrorism, things like, for example, let's say we have an instance like what happened with the attempted coup at the Capitol. Do you think that like neighborhood policing would be capable of dealing with a situation like that? Let's say we've got our perfect socialist society and a fascistic coup. Hundreds, maybe thousands of literal fascists try to storm whatever capital we have in our like beautiful utopian socialist society. Do you really think that if we adopt a system of pure like neighborhood policing or like neighborhood militias for dealing with crime, do you think that would be capable of dealing with that situation? Of course not. Nishder Zoka in YouTube chat, then you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Maybe when you turn 15 years old, you'll realize the world is a lot more complicated than your LARPy dumb fuck like, oh yeah, my perfect anarchist socialist utopia could totally be fine without some kind of police force to deal with situations like this. But, you know, hey, listen, you'll turn 15 one day, and maybe around there you'll be mature and well, like, learned enough that you'll realize that what you just said is fucking stupid. But like I said, this discussion around police is really complicated, and I have to say, I do think slogans like defund the police and ACAB don't necessarily do a disservice to educating the general public about how we're meant to deal with these solutions or like these situations, right? Like when we talk about the George Floyd thing or the Breonna Taylor thing, most people are fairly pro-cop, and saying things like defund the police and all cops are bastards doesn't really reach them that well. I do think we need to platform the very nuanced discussions about how we deal with the problems police have in America for like a broader audience, right? I really do think we need to. Though at the same time, things like ACAB and defund the police are very snappy, and it's an easy thing to spread around. But at the same time, in conjunction with that, we need to spread around the arguments, the nuanced arguments about where and what the police are in this country right now. It's really complicated. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. If you're new here and you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon. I do appreciate it. You know, helps the channel and helps with the video as well. If you want to see more from me as well off of YouTube, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The link's in the description of both the stream and the video. You can also join my fan Discord, the link in the description. Join fantastic community. You should definitely join it. It's a really good place. You should definitely hang out there. It's fantastic. On top of that, if you're ultra-based and you have extra money and you don't know what to do with it and you don't need it, you can always support me financially, as this is my job and I do need the support of my fans in order to continue to do this as a job, you know, got bills to pay. You can always donate or subscribe on the website, xanderhall.com/live. I'll be able to read your message. You'll have a little thing pop up on the screen. And you can also hit the join button to become a channel member or super chat. Or if you're super based and you want to go the extra mile, you can always pledge on Patreon. It's always appreciated. I don't give anything special to my Patreon subs, but you know, it's a thing that you can do. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a good one.